But that's okay because
I think AI is going to do a lot of incredible things, by the way.
I think so,
I think it's
maybe
going to do incredible things because it will allow us. I mean, think about it right now. We have conversations around, at dinner time, and we can talk about things, whereas before everybody'd say, I don't know, you don't know, we don't know. We look it up on our peripheral brain, and then we keep talking about it. We are not sure about data and information. We access it directly, and we include it in our experience. So I think the idea that we have devices on us, a watch, a phone, glasses, that give us more data and allow us to do more things in the world, I think it's going to be incredible. And with data aggregation and all the data that we build, are we going to need computers to help digest it and give us the things that you particularly want and give me the things I particularly want in the way that I want it? I think AI will be incredible for that. But all of the other things, I just was listening to a podcast about making rules of engagement for war for what robots will be allowed to do because they're concerned about drones being, having the AI built into them that
they just pick and choose who they kill.
Exactly. They're sent on a mission. If they identify a particular target, they have if based upon recognition, they have the carte blanche to shoot at it or not. These are the real questions that I think that we need to be asking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We have a double exponential growth rate pattern that's going on between computing technology and robotics, so that could be pretty scary. Everybody's arming their robots, I can just see Terminator chasing me right now. That's all I'm thinking about. Shape shifting and whatever.
Hey, we're not far from a lot. There's a lot of robotics going on right now, and certainly, you hear it in the news, automation and people being afraid it's going to replace their jobs. But robotics has been in the car industry. And it's going into now food service and certainly, you can see in Japan and other areas where they're developing robots as life partners to be able to to be able to give medication. Yeah. So they fill up the medication, the robot follows you around, dispenses there's lots of these types of applications, and these are, for the people who are developing them, they're trying to use technology to help improve our lives. And I think there's just these ethical issues and question of what we are willing to tolerate and what's reasonable and what's not, that I think still has to be worked out.
Do you think that eventually AI and robotics or whatever will take mine and your job?
There definitely have a whole bunch of jobs that it won't take your job, but there are certain aspects of my job that I think it definitely will take. And certainly if you look at what the projection is for what they're going to be able to design AI to do, I think you would expect that. So if you look at some of the things that are what are considered menial, in other words, can right now, for example, if you have an accountant and your accountant does your books, do you really need a human being to tabulate the data and verify numbers back and forth? There's going to be a point in time where that doesn't need to be happening. Now, are you going to need accountants to sift through information and understand businesses and the way they're constructed? Sure, but even accountants are going to ultimately use AI to help aggregate data and stuff. But you look at lawyers, they're talking about for simple contracts. Yep, I ought to be able to come up to you and say, hey, I want to sell you my house. We type the fact that we want to sell each other a house, put it into an application, and the application comes up with a legally binding contract within the state, and we don't have to go to a lawyer.
It's already generated for you. It's
That's
just
correct.
Automated.
And right now we have to call the attorney.
A lot of people, right?
Oh, yeah. And even in medicine, they're talking about having medical kiosks. So, if you think about going to the doctor, when you think, there are two things that probably they're not the same, but they're interrelated. Number one, medical kiosks. So going up to a kiosk and saying, in wintertime, I have the sniffles, a runny nose, and a cough and a sore throat, and having them say, you likely have this within your community, within this, you have this, take that, which is what people go to a family practice doctor for, okay, I think is one thing. And then telemedicine. Whether that kiosk is freestanding or whether it has some telemedicine component, which is if we get to a place in the algorithm of the kiosk where they don't know what it is, that the kiosk can then call some doc who is at a terminal, maybe manning a terminal, and can see your rash, can see your thing, and then give you advice, and then disconnect it, and the kiosk take over the rest, dispense medication, print out an instruction of what your exercise is for you to do. That stuff is well, some of that is already here, especially for places with that need rural medicine. There are places with no docs. They can set up a kiosk and have people do it. Right now, especially in Oklahoma, there's a big struggle in allied health, nurse practitioners, PAs, to be able to be trained and go out into rural areas where doctors aren't there and give medicine. They'll be able to put a kiosk there, and people in the community can go up, and for just your regular run-of-the-mill things that people already go on Google and look
like
it up.
Urgent care or whatever, but it'd be a kiosk.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. People already use Google for that. They Google everything, and they don't go to the hospital, and they don't go to whatever, because they looked it up. Here, they're likely to be able to develop these systems where people can go someplace that, with a reasonable degree of medical certainty, get reliable information based upon the information they put in. That's not far away, and certainly some of that already exists. Telemedicine already exists, and if you look at electronic medical record, many hospitals now, you go in and tap your data in, and then they have it, and then the doctor reviews it, and they use software. I use software in my computer to check to make sure the medicines you're on don't interact. Any medicine I might put you on don't interact. All this stuff is already happening.
Wow.
So it's a matter of refinement, in my opinion.
And so that's the benefit to AI.
No question. No question. No question, because the amount of data that we're responsible for all the time, memorizing, knowing, looking up. And I mean, I still look up things all the time because they're numbers to this decimal point that you just don't remember. AI is going to take over a lot of that. But, these are things that we still have to work out in our culture, because I think people expect to walk into a room and talk to a person. And I think even if they got the same medical care, if they didn't get it from a person who they felt cared about them and talked to them, that they would question it still. So I think the technology will be helpful. I think it's great. It's great for society. It'll definitely displace people. It'll likely improve access to care and quality, not making medical errors and all these other things. But there's a lot of work still to be done.
Well, if